Welcome back, everybody. This is the APAC Finals, where we will be sending one of these teams to BlizzCon and to the World Finals to be the last of 8 to compete for the World Championship title. My name is Sid Subadis Compton. I'm joined on the desk by Joe Fernandez and Dilly. We've got an upper bracket final. How are we feeling about this? Do we think that Gameface's Rogue Mage Paladin will be able to deal with Unitas' Shadow Priest Hunter?
So I've made predictions a little while ago, and I think this will be the first best-of-5 game, and I think Unitas will take it. That's my prediction.
I think 3-1 in favor of Unitas. I think I could see them losing one game to Arm Pal. I don't see it happening more than once. You have Voltron and Fitz, and if they're in a match that they're favored in, we've seen what happens when they're not favored, right? So, don't know. Doesn't look like it's that good for them. I could see maybe one fluke where Fitz dies without Disperse like yesterday. Well, through Disperse, I guess.
I feel like if we see Volchok online on this Restoration Druid and Fitz, just in general, if Unitas are playing at their top game, I don't know if anybody here in the competition can stop them, but if they even make some mistakes, one mistake maybe even, I'm not sure if they'll be able to pull it off simply based on the composition that they're bringing. I am very curious to see what Gameface have for us in Game 1, as it is a blind pick. They will not know exactly. Well, Gameface will know exactly because Unitas only have one option at their disposal, but these two teams have had a phenomenal performance thus far, hence why they're still in the upper bracket. The loser will be sent down to the lower to face off against the victor of Order and Gray. Order were already sent down by Gray, so they're looking for some revenge and to be able to take out Gray and continue in the lower bracket, potentially making the APAC Finals an entirely Australia-New Zealand affair. Unitas there, 3-man roster, 2 out of 3 of the original team of Gronks, this time bringing in Vital on our screen, playing that survival hunter, but doing a phenomenal job for his first LAN performance. Obviously, having the experience of Fitz and Volchok will support that, but if these guys play out of their minds, this composition has huge potential.
It does. It has huge potential and looking more favorable against the Rogue Mage Pally compared to the TSG they previously faced. But that being said, Gameface have also been having a phenomenal run, taking down Gray and ZFA pretty much with ease, so they're looking strong as well. I feel like either one of these teams could win the whole thing, and this series will be a big one.
This series is going to be a big one. It could be a bit of a foreshadow of who's going to take the entire thing, really, because these are top contenders. Gameface's Rogue Mage Paladin, standard meta composition, solid play. Good opportunity to be able to take this entire tournament. Unitas, peculiar, random out of nowhere composition, but phenomenal players, and for some reason is actually pretty good into what the meta compositions are that Gameface brings. So anyone could take this, really. It's not guaranteed.
I don't think their comp is random. I swear that comp is real.
Okay. I played it one time. I played it one time. I know me, who cares, right? I played it. I played it with Healing Stat, and I played it with Paradise 1. And it seemed like a solid composition overall on the ladder. It didn't seem as potent as Windwalker Shadow Priest Restoration Druid at the time, but perhaps things have changed since then. But it is a solid comp. It has good crowd control diminishing returns. It has good defensive synergy. Overall, its only weakness is that it's maybe a bit fragile to the double melee cleave compositions. But aside from that, it can easily dismantle the crowd control of a Rogue Mage. The Mending Bandage of the Survival Hunter is super effective against the Assassination Rogue. The Restoration Druid can deal with crowd control effects with heal over time to be able to deal with the extended time where they're not healing. It is a good composition overall. It's just random in the sense that we literally have never seen it in a tournament play yet this year. Maybe once by the move, but even they have not been playing it too much.
They don't have the Resto Druid, so I think without a Resto Druid, it's not as good. Shadow Priest needs the Resto Druid with this comp. With the Shaman, not the same. But I like the Destruction Warlock pick. The thing is, I don't think that Arm Pal is as good into it, but I think this is a series where they have to utilize Feather Feet. I think Destruction Warlocks can be a lot better in this matchup, but it looks like Unitas kind of predicted that. And I like the Shaman into the Destruction Warlock, expecting the double caster and having that extra interrupt. I think that makes things really different in favor of Unitas.
Yeah, I think this was a good pick from both teams. Gameface opting away from that Rogue Mage Paladin because they know it's going to struggle against the Hunter Shadow Priest, and Unitas knowing that themselves. Voltron going to be playing that Resto Shaman, adding to the interrupts, and it looks like they have a lot of pressure right now early on in this game. Featherfeet and Cheesy Nacho are just getting demolished by Unitas right now, shredding pop that wings with that Blessing of Sacrifice to keep his team stable. Featherfeet popping those Infernals and Dark Souls, getting those Chaos bolts landing, but nice fade from Fitz and Clanbrick Embrace to keep himself stabilized. And, you know, both teams just need to be very careful of those offensive cooldowns coming out from the Destruction Warlock, and then outside of that, maybe Unitas will look to get aggressive and try to pressure Featherfeet or Cheesy Nacho.
Well, this composition that Gameface have picked tells me that they are respecting the Shadow Priest Hunter. They're not running that Rogue Mage Paladin. The Frost Mage and Destruction Warlock can bring in a lot of support, but they need to make sure they're accessing it. You can see Fitz is in a polymorph. That means he is unable to take any actions to do damage or support his team. That is exactly what Gameface need to utilize when their healer Shredded is crowd controlled and unable to save them. Featherfeet under huge amounts of pressure right now from both Vital and Fitz. Gladiator Safeguard along with the Blessing and Protection at the same time. Cooldown overlap. Now the Gladiator's Medallion from Shredded to break out of Psychic Scream as well. This crowd control chain is devastating on a Holy Paladin. How do we feel about that pick from Shredded? Or do you think there's a better option as the healer?
Yeah, I think he should have gone with Resto Druid. Holy Paladin just doesn't seem like it's as good. I mean, even though, you know, Holy Paladin is better versus Shadow Priest, it just seems like Resto Druid is the pick when you have this double wizard. I mean, Unitas, they've been dominating it. Vital, he's been disengaging Shadow Priest and Featherfeet. He's been avoiding that from happening. And the way they're playing, it just seems like Gameface, they have a good pick, but they need to change their healer, and they need to play this a little bit better. They haven't picked this too much, and we see Featherfeet dipping so low. Has to use the wall, gets Intim stunned. He doesn't trinket it until a little bit late, and his Intim stun is over. Shredded has nothing for him. He's holding onto his bubble. They use the coils, and they're relying on that. But man, Shredded is being really greedy, finally using his wings at this last moment right here. Should be able to top Featherfeet. I don't know, Featherfeet's getting kicked. They're crushing him this entire game. This is just doing so much, constantly using these MDs, just purging, doing everything he can. And Unitas, they are dominating Gameface. They are having such a hard time utilizing this comp. And I think it's just that Gameface, even though they have this great arm pal, and even though they have Featherfeet, who's awesome on their team, they still have not practiced this as much. They have not played their Destruction Warlock comps enough to give them the experience that is at the same level as their Rogue Mage Paladin. And I think it's really showing here.
Yeah, Unitas are doing an excellent job going offensive, getting the crowd control chained onto Shredded whilst getting a ton of pressure against Featherfeet. And at the same time, their defensive play is very good too. Both the Hunter, Vital, and Fitz are just going back towards the pillar as soon as any pressure is mounting too much and during the offensive cooldowns, because right now an Infernal did come down. Featherfeet trying to get some pressure, but Fitz and Vital, they just run to that pillar, line of sight. As soon as the sheep just land on Voltruck right there, Vital is out, but at the same time, Fitz now caught in the middle of the field. Chaos Bolt lands onto him. He has the Fade or Dispersion if needed. They've had defensive cooldowns this entire game, and this is looking good for Unitas.
All right, Fitz using Fade to immune that Chaos Bolt to Featherfeet. Cheesy Nacho moving in on the right side of this pillar. They got Unitas pinned at the pillars. They're focusing on defense, but they've realized they can't focus solely on surviving right now. Shredded may be able to drink. Vital jumping in, securing an interrupt. Likely a freezing trap on the follow-up. Featherfeet is isolated. Cheesy Nacho needs to support, and he does do so. Polymorphing out Vital. They need to continue to do so. Featherfeet's still in a lot of trouble. Shredded breaking out of the chain with Divine Shield, but that is the most precious cooldown to him, as it immunes both damage and crowd control. It will buy his team a moment of opportunity to recover and counterattack, but unlikely that he sees that for potentially the remainder of the match. 4 minutes left on its cooldown, but now Fitz in trouble. Interrupted, Volchok crowd controlled. Fitz trying to duck for cover, but these Chaos Bolts just continuously crashing in. Huge Cataclysm connects. Fitz has to respect that and disperse. Cheesy Nacho, though, in the midst of all of that chaos, was taking quite a huge hit. Featherfeet is low on health. Shredded is in a freezing trap. He's going to use Gladiator's Medallion to break out of the chain. If they can get any follow-up here onto Shredded, it could be devastating. Volchok is in position for a Hex, potentially waiting for the diminishing return, but he's exposed himself to Polymorph. Cheesy Nacho with a beautiful punish.
Yeah, Vital, he used all of his offensive cooldowns there. He had his coordinated assault. They needed to get as much pressure as possible. They have done a beautiful job from Gameface to peel Vital. He's stopping him from getting that extra offense. He's now in that full HUD. Looks like they're swapping over to him. Maledict comes onto Vital, but he gets behind the pillar. He's going to be completely safe, and now Featherfeet, who are they going to hit? Fitz and Volchok, they're entirely behind the pillar. There you have their offenses kind of coming up. But Gameface, they have that Infernal back. I kind of want to see Gameface use their Infernal defensively here. I think if they do that on Unitas' next trap, their next window where they want to go offensive, if Vital just gets peeled from it that way, that I think is going to benefit them. And we see them doing that now. They're going for the double coil, hitting Fitz and Vital, trying to get that extra pressure. Featherfeet, he has the Dark Soul coming up soon. He should have a lot of damage, but no, he's locked out. Shredded might have to use the Blessing and Sacrifice. Another interrupt onto Featherfeet. Can't use his wall. Gets hit by the Sacrifice right before Shredded's spear. But this is so scary. He's swapping that Avenging Light, and he's trying to get as much healing output as possible on the Featherfeet, but he is struggling. Shredded's caught into a silence. not looking good. Unitas is dominating Gameface right now.
It is not looking good. So much pressure against Gameface right now from the side of Unitas. They just keep mounting on the pressure, making it difficult for them to win. But at the same time, Volchok now getting caught off guard, having to use that Astral Shift to deal with the pressure of Featherfeet and Cheesy Nachos. So not going to be completely one-sided, but at the same time, Gameface need to change something if they want to beat Unitas right now. The mana levels are actually quite even. There's a full sheep on the Voltron right now, but they need pressure at the same time. Otherwise, this crowd control is going to go to waste. Nice Hammer of Justice on the Vital, but Fitz doing an excellent job as well, counter-pressuring and stopping those Chaos Bolts with that Psychic Horror. And now, full trap on the Shredded. This is going to be dire for Featherfeet. He might have to use that Unending Resolve. He gets put into a silent shot as well. No chain crowd control right now. There's the Fear, and he used the Unending Resolve, but it might be too little too late. He is super low on HP. He is just about staying alive though right now. Shredded pops that Wings. He should be able to stabilize him, but that was a very close call.
What a close call there. Almost a throwaway, but Featherfeet is going to rub the sweat from his brow after that one and look to make a push, but there is a lot of defense still available for Unitas. I don't see any openings in that regard. Mana is even moving into dampening. I think that things will continue to snowball in Unitas' favor. Cooldowns are continuing to be blown. Shredded is now in crowd control. This could be it for Featherfeet. He's got the Mortal Coil. He needs to land that up onto 2 targets here if Shredded is continued to be crowd controlled. Volchok is in a poly. Gameface are switching targets. They're going after the Hunter, realizing maybe the defense of the Shadow Priest is too much. Going after the melee makes a lot more sense. Ooh. He gets stand up, overextended. Volchok going to respect the swap, immediately drop the Spirit Link Totem to restabilize, but this target adaptation could be an opportunity for Gameface to get back in the game, but it will be an uphill fight.
Such a beautiful setup from Gameface. What they did is they used the Maledict on the Vital. That forced Volchok to use the spell. Then they went for the full Hodge, set up their burst onto him, and that put them in such a vulnerable position that Volchok was forced to use his Spirit Link. This is something that he doesn't utilize enough. Using the Maledict, that was great from Gameface. They're putting themselves back in the game, but the thing is, Vital still has his aspect of the turtle. I don't know if they're still going to be able to get enough pressure here. They don't have that many cooldowns left. Whoa. Featherfeet, he's in trouble. Fitz, he's locked out though. If they can burst him down, I don't think they're going to be able to get Featherfeet to cast onto Fitz though. He's behind this pillar. He's nice and safe. Double Shadow Fury comes out from Featherfeet. This is great when Cheesy Nostro is harassing them, but without Featherfeet being able to connect with those big Chaos Bolts, things look a little bit scary. They're doing a great job blocking Fitz out, stopping him from really doing anything. It's still, Gameface needs more of those big plays to happen with their Maledicts, trying to set up onto Vital potentially, because Fitz just has so many defensive cooldowns for them to go through. Between the Fade, between the Dispersion, between the Life Swap, seems like a huge risk. Now Featherfeet, he's the one who is being pressured. He used the silence on a Shredded, get a lot of CC onto him on his Wings, and that's his big healing. Now he's full feared, he has no outs, and Featherfeet, he could go down. He has his Dark Soul, they're trying to counter pressure, CCing Fitz right now. They force Vital to turtle. That is the best thing that could have possibly happened for them. They turned around on Unitas' go, and by doing so, they forced Vital to be defensive at a moment where they absolutely could have killed. Shredded had no way of keeping Featherfeet alive, and now Gameface, they're turning it around. The pressure is against Unitas as we are in 25% dampening. That is hurting Unitas so much against this Mage Destruction Warlock, whereas earlier on this game, they were just wiping Gameface.
All right, well, the target change is paying off for Gameface. Now this is in their own hands. Vital trying to lead the charge, securing the freezing trap, going after Featherfeet. 6 seconds away from his defense. 5 seconds away. Will he be able to hold on? Gladiator's Maledict is absorbing some heals. Shredded has to dispel, but he dispels into a Horrify. Now into the Psychic Horror. Beautiful crowd control chain. Featherfeet's defense may not be enough as he hovers on 1%. The Blessing of Sacrifice redirects the damage just in the nick of time. Now Featherfeet's turn to lead the assault. Vital ducking around the corner, dodging some incoming Chaos Bolts. We do see Cheesy Nacho blinking in with a flurry combo. Ray of Frost. Volchok's in a fear, and Cheesy Nacho looks to snipe the kill. Fitz saves the day with the life swap, redirecting his health to Vital. But that was one of the main last lines of defense for Unitas to stay alive in game 1. Shredded in a freezing trap, 3 seconds away from his medallion, but Unitas are still under pressure. If Featherfeet is able to get some Chaos Bolts off here, could be devastating, but it's actually Featherfeet who is in trouble. Big pressure out here. Full sidekick scream, and Featherfeet is likely to get crushed. Unitas hold it together to 33% dampening, and despite the strategy changes of Gameface, pull off a game 1 victory.
That was just an excellent pick by Unitas, picking up the rest of the Shaman instead of the Druid, just able to have that, you know, the Grounding Tome and the Wind Shear to help deal with this Wizard Cleave. Such a smart read from Unitas, but like we said, we were kind of questioning the Paladin pick earlier from Shredded. I actually think it's a good pick in the sense that if he picks Resto Druid and you're against a Shadow Priest and a Shaman that could spam Purge, I feel like that's a nightmare situation for the Druid, and I think he'll just kind of run so I don't even think the Druid's a safe answer against his composition.
The thing with the Druid that I see happening is the Druid can gotta be a little bit more aggressive with the Feral Affinity.
Yeah.
And he only needs to just get like a couple of Swiftmen regrowths. They just need to get the CC chain going. And Vital's also gonna have a lot harder time generating the pressure. We talked about this yesterday. With the Paladin, you counter the Shadow Priest. With the Druid, you counter the Hunter a little bit more. I kind of think that might help them better, especially with that strategy. They kind of realize they need to harass Vital more. So what can happen is the Druid can kind of reset and pull back and force Vital to overextend, and that's where the Feral Affinity would actually punish them. Because if they can have this like really safe positioning spread out very far, I think they can harass him a lot more. Because once you're in that deeper dampening, and they haven't really forced the kill, that's when the scatter play has a little bit of a scarier time against this. Like they seem like they were losing out once we got to that point in dampening, and Gameface kind of took the lead.
But now that they've won the blind pick, they will be able to pick maps where Vital can focus on surviving, which are the small maps, I would imagine, so he can more easily escape from the fight. If they had lost that, let's say Gameface had been actually targeting Vital from the start, because it appeared like he should be the target from the get-go, they may have been able to win that and then go to bigger maps. So the blind pick could have had everything to do with the victory overhaul for Unitas.
I think the big map, it has the factor, but the thing is, with the Druid, the Hunter uses his mobility to CC the Druid. So because of that, he doesn't have the mobility to get away, because he's giving up that option. So the map, sure, it helps, but
you don't think the Wizard corner in Tolvaron is going to be a nightmare?
No,
for
that will be. I just was saying in general, even on smaller maps, it's just the fact that the Hunter against the Druid is using his mobility to CC the Druid. So because he's doing that, it's not like he's going to have it anyways to just run away for the pillar, no matter what map you pick, except like maybe Dalaran Sewers. But even then, I could still see him getting punished heavily. They could still do things. Blackrook? I don't know. Blackrook can be a hit or miss. It could be good. Blackrook actually
also on a
solid
smaller
pick.
map, maybe he doesn't need to use as much mobility because the Paladin will be closer to him.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on how him and his teammates set up. I think they'll just have to be forced to always use some of their stuns onto the Druid in that situation, but then when they do that, then they don't have the lockdown on Featherfeet, and that's something that they're able to do with the Paladin. They're able to just use Vital's mobility to get the CC alone, and then he always has an Intim stun for Featherfeet. They have something to lock him down, so he's not able to also just fear them on the goes, and that's really important. And that's also where the Shaman is shining too, because he has the Tremors. So he has the Tremor for a Dispel, and then he has just his regular Dispel to break Vital out of CC and keep him offensive.
What is stopping Gameface from playing Rogue Mage Paladin and tunneling the Shaman? What is stopping them from doing that?
I did think they expected Resto Druid.
Yeah.
And yeah, with a Shaman, that's totally viable, but if it's Resto Druid, Aurora Sacrifice counters the Combustion goes, and then, the Mending Bandage is useful, but usually you don't even need it. You can kind of just max
This was like a heads up of a heads up by Volchok.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. Gameface, they were expecting the Druid, and that's why they went for the Mage Lock. And then the Shaman was the kind of counterpick to the Mage Lock. I think just because they realized they're the ones that have to counterpick.
So now we expect the Druid probably blind lock, because I don't understand how a Shaman's going to survive against Rogue Mage Paladin tunneling him.
Yeah.
With survival.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the Hunter still can help out. Still have Aurora Sacrifice for the go, and you still have Mending Bandage. Like, if he actually manages to die through that would kind of be. I would feel bad, because I mean, how does that even make sense? You have the two mechanics to counter that, and then it's like if he dies through that, that's kind of unfortunate.
All right. Well, as would be expected, Unitas unlikely to make any changes in their composition regardless of the map that is selected. Gameface go for a neutral map, though, maybe not wanting to reveal what their plan is here. Perhaps they're not going to run the Mage Warlock again. They may bring in 6-0, go for a Rogue Mage Paladin, train down the Shaman. I feel like any Shaman killing composition would be a good pick here. I'm just trying to run the numbers on what would be their best option to kill the Shaman given what classes they have available. And nothing really stands out to me. I mean, a Destruction Warlock Rogue, is that... You think it would be a good option for them on Tiger's Peak?
Yeah, I mean, I think they could go for like a Destruction Warlock melee composition. I mean, I just see them doing a lot versus Mage. I don't like Frost arm. Well, maybe they're thinking Frost doesn't get countered as hard by the Hunter, but I don't know why they're just, if they're playing Frost, why not have Shredded play Druid?
Yeah.
That's the thing. If they're comfortable with Cheesy Nacho, who almost exclusively plays Fire, and he's going out of his comfort zone to play Frost, Shredded, Holy Paladin is his initial main, so why not have him do that? I mean, I get that they're so comfortable playing Rogue Mage Paladin, and they played it a lot together as a team, but still, Shredded has that experience. I feel like the Druid would have just been better. but maybe they're just seeing the Shaman and worried. They might just be really scared about that purge spam.
The Paladin also brings in some extra aggression and damage.
Yep.
Maybe they feel they need that added bit of damage to kill off the Shadow Priest or the Hunter, given the support and utility that those classes are going to bring to the fight. I still have to say that seeing the scatter play doing so well is quite a treat after watching the meta unfold between North America and Europe. Things are getting a little bit stale in terms of diversity there. So seeing a composition like this from APAC, potentially Unitas qualify and throw a wrench into the plans of all of the other teams across the globe. They do have Unix still on the team. He wasn't able to attend the event. I'm wondering if he will be going to the World Finals if they qualify at that point. But we've got game 2 underway here. Take it away, Joe.
Oh, we see Unitas already taking game number 1, which is going to be a very important game in my mind, as they'll be able to change up their healer depending on what Gameface lock, if they're able to swing this match in their favor with that Rogue Mage Paladin. Now, Cheesy Nacho, it actually looks like he is playing Fire instead of that Frost, so they're going to be playing that Fire Rogue Mage Paladin, which is much more orthodox compared to the Frost version. So we're going to expect a ton of pressure coming out to Vital right now. With crowd control on the Vulture, they've already achieved getting his Trinket, and that was due to the blind used by Sixo, so he could be vulnerable as well.
Yeah, I actually think Vital's in this position where he's probably the better kill target over Volchok, because the Shaman is going to have a really hard time keeping a Hunter alive, especially just versus Rogue Mage. But now we see the counter pressure also going onto Shredded. They swapped onto him during the sack. He got really low here. If they force his bubble, this is huge, but there's the bomb on a Vital. DR Chief Shot goes onto him, onto Trinket. Another one. Great play by Sixo. I mean, they're keeping him locked down. They're doing as much as they can. Shredded's caught into that trap. Now that MD comes out by Fitz, but finally he's just getting pressured so hard. They're forcing to use the Spirit Link. Shaman just has a difficult time keeping a Hunter alive. And now Cheesy Nacho, he's being pressured. They still have a Blessing of Protection available from Shredded, but Cheesy Nacho might be forced to use his Ice Block. He has Cauterize available still. Gets caught into the Intimidation Sun, bopped out by Shredded. They're trying to keep the offense. They're trying to pressure Vital as much as possible, but these are his offensive cooldowns. Temporal Shield gets purged off immediately. Kick onto Cheesy Nacho. He could be forced to use his block right here. This is not looking good. Unitas is recovering.
Yeah, Unitas with some awesome counter aggression, but now Volchok into Polymorph. Vital, he needs to avoid the fight. He's going to disengage away from Sixo, beautifully avoiding the Rogue and avoiding the stun lock. And Fitz is just soloing Cheesy Nacho. Fitz is just unleashing pain onto the team of Gameface here. Things are snowballing out of control immensely. Huge aggression from Volchok as well. Cheesy Nacho on the run. Will he be able to recover? Shredded around the corner, but not many cooldowns, dispelling off the damage over time effects, but now potentially exposing himself to crowd control. Fitz is moving over. He's in void form. He's going to be ramping up for a big psychic scream. Sixo is low on health. All 3 members of Gameface in trouble. Not many options available for another 15 seconds. Can Shredded keep this going for 13 more seconds? He's going to use the Divine Shield, break the crowd control. Gameface looks to counter aggress despite Death's door knocking here. Can they pull it off? Vital going to respect, but a panic attack for Unitas. They overlap. It may not matter though. The momentum is so heavily in favor. Shredded gets silenced, but he's already got the Avenging Crusader. He's going to be doing a ton of damage. Stunned up here. If they get this polymorph onto Volchok, it could be the end of the game.
Go down.
They don't even need it. Gameface outright crushing Vital, and perhaps Unitas tripping on the finish line in game 2. Gameface tied up.
Oh no, that was so unfortunate for Unitas. They had the game in their bags. All they needed to do was just not use that massive overlap of the Void Shift and the aspect of the Turtle, but they were both, it just kind of happens where it's a freak situation where you both instantly react at the same time thinking, oh, I need to use this defensive cooldown, but they just needed to clean that up, and I think they would have won this game, so it was a bit of a throwaway, but well played to Gameface still. I mean, it looked like they were getting crushed throughout the entire time, and then as soon as they saw that overlap, they took the opportunity to win.
Capitalizing on mistakes. They were behind probably a 3-to-1 exchange, but that 3-to-1 exchange was immediately out of the way when Fitz and the Hunter Vital ended up using the aspect of the Turtle and Void Shift at the same time. Unitas need to keep it calm, you know, not get too far ahead of themselves. They were walking all over Gameface for most of that game, but can't afford to be throwing right at the end there. So Gameface are going to tie it up. This is looking like a solid option for them in terms of overall momentum. Do we expect Volchok to change healers?
I think he might swap over. I think Restorator is going to be better at keeping that Hunter alive, but I think that last go that happened, I think that just really caught them off guard. So what happened is Sixo was actually able to garrote Kidney Vital right there, and I don't think they had really expected that to happen. So when that happens, you're actually silenced, and you can't use Roar Sacrifice. So they actually went for a Combust all in, so they do a ton of damage at that moment, and because of that, that's where the panic set in. Otherwise, they're just thinking, oh, okay, they're never going to combust, whatever, but they actually waited until Sixo was able to get a garrote and do that go, and that just forced so much that once they realize that that's something that's a factor, something that can happen, I don't think that's going to be something they always have to worry about. So even though the Shaman, it really does struggle to keep the Hunter alive, and Druid definitely would be better, they're probably going to swap to it. I still think that that game was lost not because of the healer. I think it was just that panic and not really reacting to those cooldowns properly and just not expecting that to happen.
I mean, that's why I feel like he should just stick with the Shaman. I mean, that game looked pretty convincing in their favor. Apart from that overlap, like they were pretty much won. They forced the Ice Block. There was no cooldowns left. They just overlapped major defensive cooldowns. So I feel like they should keep a level head, stick to that Shaman, depending if Gameface, go for that Rogue Mage Pally or the Mage Lock Pally.
Oh, moving into hook point, close quartered combat here, tied up 1-1, a best of 5 in the upper bracket final. The winner will move to the grand finals, a best of 7. The winner of that will qualify to BlizzCon and the Arena World Championship World Finals stage to potentially unlock the greatest achievement available in World of Warcraft PvP, the title of BlizzCon champion. Vital doing a great job for his first LAN, but I would feel as a team that there had to have been a miscommunication mishap right at the end of the last one there as they blew out significant defense that they had available. If it had been properly rotated through, they would have had more than enough time to clean up Gameface. Gameface are going to be staying with the same composition, no changes there. Although at the start of the match, it was looking dicey, so Unitas need to just keep it calm, go back to the drawing board in terms of their defense, make sure they've got a plan, not get too far ahead of themselves. It may have been just that they wanted to style on Gameface. They were in such a huge lead, and they felt that, oh, I'm just going to use voice shift. You're fine. We're going to win here soon anyway. And they ended up having a miscommunication. So let's see if they can keep it together. Perhaps they're debating if they want Volchok to switch over onto Restoration Druid. I'm wondering where his hesitation would be overall with that. They lose the Purge, the double Purge, but they will gain more defense. And Volchok will be going back onto the Restoration Druid.
I mean, it makes sense. There's no reason for him not to play Resto Druid. It just is better. It has a lot higher healing output. It's easier for a Resto Druid to keep a Hunter alive than a Resto Shaman, because Resto Shamans, we already know that they're not known for their strong healing output. It worked well versus the double casters because they're able to avoid damage, but as far as actually topping someone off, they struggle. Resto Druids, still good at that burst healing, and that's all that they need in this matchup. It's still going to be hard for the Rogue Mage, I think. I don't think they need the double Purge. Fitz's Purge is enough. They're playing with the Holy Paladin, right? So with the Holy Paladin, it's only a blessing of protection. It's not like, oh, I need to get off every single hot. Then that's where the Shaman is useful for putting Gameface behind. So, I mean, I like the Druid pick. I think they're going to do very well in this game. I expect it to be better. Volchok, he's the most comfortable on Restoration Druid. That last game, obviously, it still came down to something really close, but there's no reason to make it not even more in their favor by going to Restoration Druid. It just makes more sense.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Druid is the better overall pick. The other thing to consider is that Cheesy Nacho will probably pick up Kleptomania now. Now, Kleptomania strips away all the hots from them, and then he'll be a lot tankier as well. So it might be harder to kill Cheesy Nacho, but I still...
Rogue, though. I think they can kill all of them. Like, I feel like they're all viable kill targets for Unitas, especially once you have the Druid, because the Druid will let them play more offensive. I think Vital can chase more with a Druid healing him than with a Shaman, especially because of the mobility of the Druid. Can kind of move around the map a little bit more. The Shaman, it's a little bit harder because Vital has to stay in his line of sight. So I think they're going to be able to hit whoever they want.
Here we go. We're all tied up 1-1. Australia and New Zealand's finest in the upper bracket finals. Who's going to advance to the grand finals? Find out here shortly. Volchok in the starting room, hesitant to move forward as Vital plays goalie. Flare at the entrance to the starting room means that 6-0 will be unable to sap. He is going to sap Vital, however. Cheesy Nacho looking to set up a greater Pyroblast, gets stunned on it. And that's a big respect by Fitz, not wanting this initial attack. But despite that disruption, Vital is still taking huge hits. Volchok activating Iron Bark to stabilize Vital. Fitz is trying to support by using Mind Control to break the crowd control chain, which he has. Vital now has secured crowd control. This could be trouble for Cheesy Nacho if Vital can stay on target. They don't have any follow-up, unfortunately. Shredded dispelling off the Gladiator's Maledict, and looking like he should be able to recover here shortly.
Yeah, that was just great play from Cheesy Nacho, denying Fitz for extra crowd control, and now already forcing that aspect of the turtle again on his offensive cooldowns. This is actually looking dire for Unitas. Gameface catch Volchok out of crowd control as well. No aspect of the turtle, no exhilaration for Vital. He could just go down, half sheep and a hodge onto Volchok right now. He has nothing left to survive. They have that void shift if needed. Volchok sneaks in that Iron Buck in the nick of time, but he needs to top him. He's struggling to heal. He can't free cast. Cheesy Nacho trying to get that greater pyro, but a beautiful bash coming in from Voltron to deny that. Forcing the Blessing of Protection, but great read coming out from Voltron.
This is just so scary for Vital. In the opener, he had a Trinket and used Forward Sacrifice on the Vendetta Combust go from Gameface. That made him super scared. And then I got Aspect of the Turtle. He has nothing left. He won't have his human racial for a long time. This full Kenny CS on a Volchok. This might have to use something. There's the Hodge, there's the light. There's the light stop right on the Polymorph though. So now Fitz, he's not a kill target either, but they have beautiful cross CC here. No MDs coming out from Fitz. They're gonna get the reshape. This is beautiful. Gameface is dominating. They're crushing Vital. This is the kill target. He has no idea how to react in this situation. He's getting pressured so much, falling further and further behind, and Unitas, they can't do anything. Fitz and Voltron, they're just taken out of the game. I love Gameface's strategy. They're just shutting Vital down, shutting Fitz and Voltron down. They're not able to make the plays that they are known for, and I love their strategy.
This target change from Gameface is certainly paying off. They are in the driver's seat. Volchok is trying to carry and support the team, cycloning the healer Shredded, giving an opportunity to counterattack towards 6-0, but not enough momentum. It's 3 versus 1. How are Unitas going to deal with this push by Gameface? They life grip Volchok in, but he gets caught into another poly. Vital could easily fall. Blind for 1 second. He trinkets, but it is not enough. Gameface with utter dominance in game 3, and I'm almost wondering, does this composition even beat Rogue Mage Paladin? That was the most one-sided match we've seen this series.
Yeah.
I actually just think that Gameface found the right strategy, like versus this. I mean, I played this matchup a lot, and Gameface is kind of doing something that I had always thought Rogue Mage Paladin should do. Because sometimes they'll just go on the Shadow Priest, and sometimes they'll do that. But I think going on the Hunter, and the way they're opening on him with the Garrote, so he's not able to use Roar Sacrifice on any of those goes, they're kind of able to force his Trinket out the way. Then they're using a Bomb Go on him, and they're just cross-CCing Fitz and Volchok so much that he's just not able to do anything, because he's such a vulnerable target in that situation. I think they usually are underestimating it. So I don't actually know. Maybe Gameface actually can just win with this matchup. Like this might actually not be as one-sided as we once thought.
The Shaman looked better.
Yeah, it actually did. I mean, but it's hard to say too. Gameface seemed like they just played this game so much better too. They were dominating them. The only difference with the Shaman is that Volchok probably was able to shear Greater Pyros more, because Cheesy Nacho, he just got so many off that game. And the thing is, when you're playing with the Restoration Druid, the Hunter only has 1 interrupt, and it's basically a melee range wind shear. Shadow Priest, no interrupt. Druid, no interrupt. At that point, they just have no way to stop those. So when he just sits there and spam casts Greater Pyroblast, it's just something that's really easy to abuse against Hunters in general. The only thing that they can really do is have Fitz go for like a Mind Control on a Greater, but that's not reliable, especially when they're crossing enough. So I think that going on the Hunter, this makes the most sense, because that stops them from doing anything that they want.
It seems like it was important for Vital to be left open. Now that he's the target, they're not getting nearly as much crowd control. They're constantly on defense, just trying to stay alive in the fight. This target change has been paying off for Gameface. Even in game 1, it was looking better when they were running the Mage Warlock. When they switched over to Vital, do we think it's just strategy, or do you think maybe some nerves as well with Vital's LAN experience?
I feel like it's also to do with the strategy. I felt like they were kind of just all dogpiling on the pillar, and I feel like Rogue Mage Pally really benefits from that, because they're just able to get across crowd control more. They can get double or triple Dragon's Breath going to make it easier for Cheesy Nacho to get the crowd control. And then they're just not going to be able to kite the pressure as much. They need that break. They need that break for the rest of Druid to top them off.
How do you feel about this strategy? You go after Rogue, not Mage. You play Shaman. You Hex Mage on cooldown, or as much as frequently possible, and single target the Rogue.
It's okay. The only thing is they just only have like the 1 stun on him, and Rogues can make themselves survive a lot. That is probably the best thing to do with the Shaman. But I think Joe's saying it's just once you're at that pillar, that's where it's bad, because Arm Pal 60s when it's at the pillar, and then Hunter when it's at the pillar, it's bad for them, because they have the same advantage. Arm Pal, they want to be momentum based, and if they're ever on top of your opponent as a Hunter, you want to be the one that's pushing your opponent back. You want to be in that position. So they're kind of just crushing them. I mean, maybe Unitas just needs to somehow find a way to be more confident at running at Gameface. Like, I think that is just the major goal. They need to be the ones that are in the driver's seat.
After that cooldown mishap, maybe it's getting to them.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I'm glad that they chose the Shaman version right now, because that second game looked very, very good for them. So they just had that big overlap, which is going to be enough. Like, I mean, if you make a defensive error against Rogue Mage Pally, you can lose, simple as that. And that was a good example in Tiger's Peak, where they were dominating them the entire game, made that big mistake of the overlap cooldowns. If they don't do that, I feel like it will look good for them. And we're actually going to be at the Robodrome.
And I feel like if you're Unitas, you want to avoid the lower bracket because if you face Order on those melee cleave setups,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a nightmare. Unitas need to avoid the lower bracket, as I would say, as long as possible and try to dodge Order overall in the tournament. It seems like they have the compositions and the strategies for other teams, but if a melee cleave is at the same caliber as them, it's going to be quite difficult. They need to make sure that they don't let the mistakes that happen on Tiger's Peak get to them. They still need to play with the same confidence. They still need to be going for crowd control as frequently as possible. Otherwise, Gameface are starting to snowball this in their own favor. Robodrome going to be the first time selected here. How are we feeling with that map, Dilly?
I like Robodrome. I was saying that earlier. I actually like teams that pick that map. I think that just people aren't as confident for it. But I could see this going well in Unitas' favor. I think they can kind of position a little bit better so that it's harder for the Rogue Mage Pally to kind of stay on top of them. They can kind of have Volchok maybe take the high ground, be in a position where you can shear and, stop things from happening, but also, you can kind of go down that ramp when you're on the top of it. And I think you can really abuse that line of sight. And that's great when Gameface is trying to push on top of them. I think this might work out pretty well for them. I think this is the first time we've seen someone really pick this in this tournament. So I love this map. I think it's a good map.
All right, first time we're going to see Robodrome. It's match point here. Gameface look to advance to the grand finals in a dominant fashion, and they'll be awaiting their opponent if they can do so from the lower bracket. We're about to jump into what could be the last round of this upper bracket series. You don't want to go anywhere. It's definitely been an epic one, a nice treat, some different compositions broken out so far. Will Volchok's Shaman be enough for Unitas to pull off a victory? 6-0 moves in, sapping up the Shadow Priest and waiting for his team to get in position. Cheesy Nacho crossing now into center field, looking to set up a Greater Pyro Blast. Now the Shaman will bring both Wind Shear to interrupt Greater Pyro Blast and Grounding Totem to redirect it and protect his team. I think it's very important, as you were pointing out, that with the Restoration Druid, there's simply not enough disruption to stop the Fire Mage. With the Shaman, they will have enough disruption. Now they just need to clean up their offense, push forward, close this out, take it to a Game 5, potentially force Gameface to change their compositions, but both teams seem reluctant to get things started.
Yeah, I mean, Gameface, they just kind of want that perfect opener in order to get things started. They want to force those defensive cooldowns early on. We already actually see an Earthen Wall Totem just drop down from Volchok, and he had to wind shear that Greater Pyro coming from Cheesy Nacho. Nice Dragon's Breath landing double to Fitz into Volchok, but he can't use that Meteor Burst. At the same time, though, Vire is still getting really low already, forcing that aspect of the turtle. The Earthen Wall Totem's gone, the aspect turtles have gone. This is looking great for Gameface.
Yeah, but now they're starting to get the pressure back on a Cheesy Nacho. They get the Temporal Shield, they're pressuring him, purging it off. Maledics are here. The Maledic might absorb the Cauterize if it procs during the CC chain on Shredded. This could be huge. They absorb the Cauterize!
Oh!
Those Maledics were beautiful. That is the way you die as a Fire Mage. People get that Maledic chain on you. They absorb your Cauterize, your healers in CC. That setup was huge from Unitas, and that game was not looking good. That was them clutching out. They are fighting back. They want to make it to the finals.
Well, Joe's prediction is looking pretty good, pretty on point right now.
One more game.
If Unitas can take it. Big mistakes there on the side of Gameface. You can tell that nerves are getting to both sides here in this upper bracket final. Love seeing Volchok on that Shaman. Great disruption, beautiful counter attack with that Gladiator's Maledict to absorb the Cauterize and find the kill. Catching Cheesy Nacho totally off guard. Now we're going all the way to a Game 5. Do we think they're going to change composition?
I feel like they'll just stick with it now. I don't see why they won't. Oh, do you mean Gameface change composition? I don't think so. I feel like it's just all of their mains, right? I feel like they need that comfort pick. And again, similar to Unitas, where it was kind of a throwaway. They just hit, here instead of an overlap of defensive cooldowns, they just didn't use any. So they need to be very careful with those Maledic pushes and just needed to ice block, and he should have been all right to survive. So I feel like they'll just stick with their guns. Both teams, going 50-50 so far. So I feel like they'll just do that. And yeah, Dalaran Arena makes me feel like they'll want to stick with Rogue Mage Paladin.
Yeah, I kind of agree that Gameface should stick with it. I mean, I feel like the way that Unitas got the kill, that's honestly when I kill mages playing that comp, it usually is always like that, where you just throw your Maledics onto them. You get a Maledic on the temp which they got, you have the CC chain on the Paladin, and he's playing Relentless, which is the right choice. and then they get the Maledict to absorb the Cauterize, and they just try to be greedy and hold on to that, and then they just die through. But I think if you see those Maledicts as the mage, especially when you have that much of a lead, I actually think it would have been worth it just for them to trade the Ice Block and then hold on to the Cauterize for later. So if they have the Cauterize to save them during a non-Maledict go, that's totally fine, but it's never going to save you at that point. So trade the block, have the Cauterize for later, then maybe the Paladin's bubble sack, something like that. I think if they just changed how they rotated their defensive cooldowns, would have been fine, because offensively, Gameface, they have figured it out against Unitas. I think they just need to understand that when they get counter pressure, they need to rotate in that way.
Can Unitas break the meta with a 3-man roster and only one composition to their name? Or will Gameface be able to turn it around here? We got our comps locked in. It's going to be more of the same. No changes here. Any mistake could cost one of these teams the entire series and potentially the entire tournament, because there are some pretty big heavy hitters still in the lower bracket, that being Korea's team of Gray, similar to North America's Cloud9. Order, our reigning APAC champions from last year, already facing elimination down there, so it's coming down to the wire. A very intense day will be had here. They are battling for one more spot at BlizzCon and the World Finals. Who is going to take it? You can tell that the nerves are starting to come in on both sides. Cooldown mishap from Unitas, and equally so by Gameface in that last round. It's going to come down to Game 5 on Dalaran Sewers, some close quartered combat. And things are going to get dirty down in the sewers.
The dirty sewers indeed. I mean, Gameface, I feel like this is a good map pick for them. They should be able to get crowd control relatively easily. Because that's the thing as well, actually. With the Shaman version, every map they've played, Rogue Mage Paladin into the Shaman version, has been quite a big map. It's been Robodrome and Tiger's Peak. Now that they're on sewers, it might be a bit easier for Gameface to not only land their crowd control, but then for Shredded to just kind of line of sight and avoid his own crowd control against the Hunter Shadow Priest. So I think this one will be, I think it's going to be another bloodbath.
I think Cheesy Nacho going Frost is a good maneuver. I think the
No,
greater
I don't
against
think he
Shaman,
is. It's just been showing
Yeah.
him as Frost, even though he's been playing fire
he is
every time.
fire?
Yeah, we made that mistake earlier. I think that's just
I
a
think
little bit
it's
of
been
error.
fire,
Look,
yeah.
look at that. See that meteor? See that combustion? He is ready.
All
now,
right.
gates are opening. 6-0 going in. I think he wants to go for that sap opener onto Fitz, and I think that sap is good when they open onto Vital. They CC him, and then that gives them the free cross CC onto Volchok. But I think they're just trying to be really patient. Fitz is just, or sorry, Vital's just trying to sit in camouflage instead. And I kind of like Gameface if they try to wait out that camouflage. That might be interesting as a strategy.
I don't like this Sap Greater Pyroblast strategy. With a Hunter and a Shaman, there's almost no way they're going to be able to line that up. Full Polymorph now on Volchok. Beautiful crowd control by Gameface here in Game 5. Vital already having to use his most important defensive cooldown, the aspect of the turtle. Now with Combustion, Avenging Crusader, and Vendetta still available, Gameface could just close this out. This is devastating for Unitas.
This is a great opener for Gameface right now. Forcing that aspect of the turtle without any other cooldowns. There's the blind, forcing the trinket now. They have the combustion, they have the Vendetta. They're actually going to pop the trigger on a Voltron, it looks like, using a kidney shot on him, but he pre-earthen walls this go. Great earthen wall term coming out from Voltron. It's going to keep them nice and steady. Otherwise, Vital, he could be in a lot of trouble right now. Greater Pyros, though, coming now. They need to be very careful. Vital is super low on HP. The Void Shift now comes out of it. Luckily, they don't overlap these big defensive cooldowns. So they're going to stabilize for now, but Gameface are so far ahead.
Yeah, they're dominating, and they have the Vendetta, they have the Combusco. They just need Cheesy Nacho not to die here. Don't die again. Ice Block and the Cauterize. I don't know if I like that. They match the spell. They have a lot of pressure. There's no sack available. Shredded, do you have bubble? Are you going to use it? No, they're going to kill Vital. He's dead. There's no way he survives. He might just go down. He's trying to survive. There's the Hodge. Do they have the follow-up? CC Combust. He's dead. He lives. Spirit Link saves him. Now Cheesy Nacho, he's in trouble. They're getting the counter pressure. This is a bloodbath. Full silence. Shredded, are you going to have bubble for the trap? I don't know.
Cheesy Nacho now in trouble. Shredded, what are you going to do in response? Freezing Trap, Divine Shield immediately to stabilize, but the damage is quite a lot. Will Shredded be able to heal? He's got no mind control at low health. Beautiful mind control by Fitz off the side. Shredded moving over, but now into a stun. If they have any crowd control here, Cheesy Nacho is going to be going down, trying to blink to safety. Can Vital stay on target despite being so low? Double Psychic Scream, beautifully sniped in by Fitz. If they can connect, Cheesy Nacho is likely to die. Shredded with limited options, moving over and trying to recover. If he's interrupted, Cheesy Nacho on the run, it's match point. They do not want to go down to that lower bracket, but now they look to counterattack. Stun on Vital. Volchok in a stun. Beautifully set up here by Gameface. Fitz is in desperation, trying to save Vital, but it is not enough. He is going to be getting sniped out. Gameface move to the grand finals for APAC.
That was such a good game from Gameface. That opener kind of sealed the deal. The fact that they got the aspect of the tail from nothing and then getting those defense, because the Void Shift as well shortly afterwards, they were just so far ahead. But Unitas did an excellent job to come back from that. It was just, that opener kind of sealed the deal, and well played to Gameface.
That is not how you wanted to go down. The first stun of the game as the Hunter, having used your aspect of the turtle, your longest cooldown, your guaranteed tool to survive, right off the bat. You're just playing at a huge disadvantage, although Unitas still took it to Gameface right down to the last very second. They will have a second chance in the lower bracket. 3-man roster, a bit of an unfortunate circumstance with their roster overall not being able to fully attend here and compete, but they have been putting on quite a show with the options they've got in their disposal. The next series moving forward will be a rematch between Order, our reigning APAC champions, as well as the team of Gray, our Korean Cloud9. Let's see if Order can really sort of outdo them this time with a second chance in the lower bracket. If they do manage to, it will then be Order against Unitas. And Unitas struggled earlier on with Team Light and their TSG. It looked pretty scary. They got some sick plays to be able to win that series, but it did look scary. So if they fight Order, a phenomenal melee cleave composition-based team, I mean, it could just be the end of the run for Unitas. And then Gameface, they're sitting pretty on the upper bracket with that Rogue Mage Paladin pocket pick.
Yeah, I mean, Gameface, running those meta compositions, and you can see why they're able to slaughter everyone, get into that grand final, locked in at least the top 2 spot, and are just one win away from getting that BlizzCon spot. And, if you're Unitas right now, I think you're praying for Gray to beat Order, because you just don't want to go up against Order, who are probably the best melee cleaves in this competition right now, and you don't want to face that as the Hunter Shadow Priest.
All right, we've got a winner's interview down on the stage. Let's hear it, Dilly.
All right, I'm joined here with Featherfeet, who once again is riding the bench to the finals. He knows the dominating team in the APAC region when it comes to trying to make it to BlizzCon. Now, your team made it in. You're trying to do your very best. What do you think made that game such a bloodbath? It seemed like your team kind of figured out beating this Hunter Shadow Priest composition that many of us did not expect to go in your favor. So what did your team really do to prepare and kind of understand this matchup a lot better?
Well, with Iron Pally being such a good comp, I literally have the 3 best Mage, Rogue, and Paladin in ANZ region to put it all together. And I just want to point out, they're 9-1 this land with Rogue, Mage, Paladin. I just think it's insane. Like, I'm so lucky to have them as my teammates.
All right, that's awesome. I mean, that's great for you to support your team in that way. I think the biggest thing that really just caught us by surprise is you guys have been playing the Mage Lock, but you kind of opt out of playing the Restoration Druid, and we all know that Shredded is a great Resto Druid, so why have you guys been kind of shy of playing the Restoration Druid? Is it just that you've been playing Arm Pally so much that he feels more comfortable just as a team playing that together with Cheesy Nacho instead of playing the Resto Druid?
Well, he is a great Druid, but we were playing, kind of going for the Paladin for the Shadow Resist aura into Shadow Priests, and earlier against Grey, we thought they would go more of a melee composition rather than a Wizard Mirror, so having the Blessing of Protection and the mana efficiency.
All right, cool. That makes a lot of sense. Any other surprise picks you guys have for us? Maybe something you're going to throw, if someone else makes it through, or are you just going to stay with Arm Pal?
9-1.
9-1. There you have it. Back to you, Sid and Joe.
When in doubt, play Rogue Mage out. Featherfeet there interviewing. He was on the team of Order last year, qualifying to BlizzCon and looking to be in a good position on the bench of this team too. Yeah. Of course, he is a phenomenal player, but when you got a solid Rogue Mage in your team, might be riding the bench more often than not. Of course, things could change. Potentially, we find some new compositions and some new metas where Featherfeet will be played more frequently. Now, we're going to be going down to the lower bracket again and sending the remainder of these teams home. Grey is the last remaining team, not from Australia, New Zealand. It's a rematch against Order. They bested them earlier on in the tournament, but now I'm sure that Order are not going to make the same mistakes that they made the first time. So this is going to be quite a run for Grey to make it through the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, it is. I mean, any of these teams now, these are kind of the 4 teams that I think you would predict to be in this top 4 of this competition. I mean, any of these teams can win it at this point, but Grey or Order, they have such a big mountain to climb right now because they have to take on each other once again. I think you're right, though. I feel like Order will come back stronger, but I wonder if they'll be strong enough to take out Grey.